Welcome to today's deep dive. Imagine for a second that you are inspecting a state-of-the-art, multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical
Oh,
facility.
right, like the absolute apex of human scientific achievement.
Exactly. You are walking the floor looking at the exact places where they are manufacturing cutting-edge gene therapies, complex biologics, highly personalized medicine.
Yeah, the really advanced stuff.
Right. And then suddenly production just grinds to an absolute
Yeah.
halt.
Which is terrifying in that environment.
Completely. But it's not because of some uh, catastrophic scientific failure or anything. It is because someone, somewhere, lost a three-ring binder.
I mean, it sounds totally absurd, but that is the reality for a shocking number of facilities right now.
Yeah.
You have this 21st century life-saving science that is being completely held hostage by, well, 20th century paperwork.
And that is exactly what we are exploring with you in today's deep dive. We are digging into this really eye-opening article by Omar Simon today.
Right, about the digital transformation in Pharma?
Exactly. The focus is on this massive, urgent shift happening in the industry right now. Companies are desperately trying to ditch these archaic manual validation processes.
Because they just don't work anymore.
Right. And they're trying to move toward modern digital platforms using systems like Validfor as a prime example of this shift.
Yeah, that's a really good benchmark for this.
So our mission today is to figure out why an industry so incredibly advanced still struggles with basic documentation and how digital transformation is finally fixing it.
It's a huge topic.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this. How do you even end up in a situation where you're developing personalized medicine, but you're relying on scattered, uncontrolled spreadsheets to get it out the door?
Well, what's fascinating here is that to really understand the problem, you have to look in the history of pharmaceutical validation.
Okay, take us back.
So for decades, manual validation was the absolute gold standard. Regulators expected to walk into a facility and see physical paper.
Actual stacks of paper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They wanted printed protocols, pages physically signed with real ink, and massive binders stored in fireproof filing cabinets.
Wow.
That physical paper trail was literally the only way to prove a drug was manufactured safely. But as the science scaled
The
up...
paperwork had to scale up, too.
Exactly. And as manufacturing systems became vastly more complex, that old standard essentially just broke down under its own weight.
Which makes sense because you aren't just making aspirin anymore, right? You are tracking thousands and thousands of variables.
Right. The complexity is off the charts now.
And the cost of trying to manage all of that on paper is staggering. The research brings up this concept of hidden data factories.
Yes, I love that term.
Right. It sounds like some kind of covert corporate espionage thing, but it's actually referring to something much more mundane and, frankly, much more frustrating.
So frustrating.
It describes this reality where highly trained knowledge workers are losing up to 50% of their entire day just searching for information.
50%.
Yeah.
Half their day.
Half of their day just searching for info or fixing completely avoidable administrative errors.
It is a massive drain on human potential. I mean, let's put that into perspective for you. Imagine you hire a brilliant QA analyst, right, or a top-tier systems engineer.
Okay.
They went to school for years to understand the complex chemical properties of life-saving therapy.
They're literal rocket scientists of biology.
Exactly. And then they show up to work and they spend 4 hours a day acting as a filing clerk.
Ugh, just walking around looking for a signature.
Literally. They are walking across a massive campus trying to find a supervisor who went to lunch just to get a physical signature on a piece of paper. Or they are manually retyping data from a printout into a computer.
And it isn't just an isolated issue at like one or two legacy companies either.
No, not at all.
The data shows that 83% of organizations admit these fragmented silos actively hurt their performance. 83%.
It's basically the whole industry.
Yeah. You have teams relying on shared computer drives, disconnected spreadsheets, physical folders.
All of which don't talk to each other.
Right. And it leads to this constant state of low-level panic where the most common question in the office is, wait, where is the actual final version of this document?
The dreaded version 2 final underscore real.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's like trying to navigate a multi-billion-dollar state-of-the-art spaceship using a glove box full of crumpled, hand-drawn maps.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it, honestly. You have the engines to get to Mars, but you are stalled out on the launch pad because nobody can verify which map has the right coordinates.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
And at today's scale, managing this manually creates unacceptable delays. I mean, if you are a company trying to get a newly approved cancer therapy to market, every single day you spend hunting down a missing signature.
Is a day the patient isn't getting that drug?
Precisely. It stalls out releases completely.
So, okay, we have established that this endless paper chase completely destroys efficiency. But what happens when that exhausted QA analyst on hour 4 of hunting down a document simply misses a typo?
Yeah, that's the real danger zone.
Because that is where this shifts from a profit problem to a human safety problem, right? Poor documentation isn't just annoying for the workers. It is a critical compliance risk.
It absolutely is. And the statistics here are genuinely sobering.
Yeah, lay them out for us.
Between 25% and 60% of all validation deviations are caused by pure human error.
Up to 60%? That is wild to me.
Yes, it's huge. And beyond that, nearly 40% of critical good manufacturing practice, or GMP, findings by regulators are tied to basic human factors.
40%.
Yeah. And we have to be really clear here. We aren't talking about malicious intent.
Right. Nobody is trying to do a bad job.
Exactly. We aren't talking about massive scientific failures or companies deliberately cutting corners on drug safety. We are talking about fatigue.
Just normal human fatigue.
Yeah, missing dates, a forgotten signature line, misplaced pages.
There's everyday mistakes.
Right. Things that are mathematically inevitable when human beings are asked to repeatedly execute thousands of manual administrative tasks day after day.
And the regulators are absolutely not letting this slide. There's a very specific, real-world example in the source material that really caught my eye.
Oh, the FDA warning letter.
Yes. The FDA issued a formal warning letter to a company called Taizu Kangping Medical Science.
Right.
And the reason for the warning, they were relying on unvalidated Excel sheets without audit trails.
Which is a massive red flag for an auditor.
Which meant anyone could go into the sheet and alter data completely undetected. But wait, let me push back on this for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
An FDA warning letter just for using a regular Excel spreadsheet. I mean, isn't Excel the default tool for literally every business on Earth?
It is, you.
I run my entire life, my budget, my schedules, all on spreadsheets.
Sure.
Why is the FDA treating a spreadsheet like a massive safety hazard?
Well, this raises an important question about what exactly the regulatory expectations are when it comes to pharmaceutical data. It's true that Excel is ubiquitous, but in pharma, data integrity is the absolute foundation of patient safety. Think about the mechanics of a standard spreadsheet.
Right, I'm picturing it.
If I open an Excel file, I can change a critical test result on a drug batch from a fail to a pass. I hit save, and I close the document.
And no one knows.
Exactly. The system doesn't permanently record that I was the one who made that change, why I made it, or at what exact time I did it. To a regulator, data that can be secretly overwritten is fundamentally untrustworthy.
Ah, I see. Because you can't prove the history of the document. You have literally no idea if the data you're looking at is the original data.
Precisely. Regulators adhere strictly to what are known as LCOA principles.
LCOA.
Yeah, it means data must be attributable, legible, contemporaneous, original, and accurate.
That's quite the acronym.
It is. But if you don't have what is called an unalterable audit trail, basically a background system that permanently logs every single keystroke, who made it, and when you fail, the attributable and original parts of that standard.
Oh, okay.
The FDA needs absolute ironclad proof of who did what. In fact, 2 of the top FDA findings today are lack of audit trail review and inadequate controls.
And using a basic, uncontrolled spreadsheet basically guarantees you will get flagged for both of those.
Exactly. You are practically asking for a warning letter.
And the financial impact of getting flagged is catastrophic. The research points out that poor data integrity can erode profit margins by nearly 19%.
19% is massive in this industry.
It is. Let's translate that into the real world for you listening. You spend billions of dollars developing a blockbuster drug.
Years of research.
Right. You finally get the science right. But because someone used a shared drive instead of a secure system with an audit trail, the FDA delays your approval by 6 months.
Ouch.
You lose your exclusivity window, competitors beat you to the market, and you lose nearly 1/5 of your margin, all because of a spreadsheet.
It perfectly highlights why relying on humans to simply try harder or be more careful is not a viable business strategy.
No, it's really not.
Humans are always going to make minor typos. They are always going to occasionally forget to sign a line, especially when they're managing thousands of pages.
So what's the fix?
The solution isn't to punish the human or send out another memo asking everyone to double-check their work. The solution is to build a technological system where those errors are mechanically impossible to make in the first place.
Which brings us to how modern software actually solves this. The source material introduces digital platforms, and they use Validfor as the prime example here, acting as what they call digital guardrails.
Yes, guardrails are the key concept here.
Now, I want to really understand the mechanics of this. It's not just highlighting a missed signature in red ink, right?
No, it's much more proactive than that.
It's like trying to start a modern car when the car isn't in park and your foot isn't on the brake. The engine physically will not turn over.
Exactly.
These digital platforms do the same thing for workflows, right? Like if step A doesn't have a verified signature, the system physically removes the button to proceed to step B.
That is the perfect analogy. Going back to your bowling idea, it's like going bowling with the bumpers up.
Yes, the bumper's up.
The system is designed so you physically cannot throw a compliance gutter ball. It uses conditional logic to remove the burden of perfection from the human operator.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
The system acts as the enforcer. And the impact that has on speed is just incredible.
Because you aren't waiting on people to catch their own mistakes.
Exactly. When you implement AI-enabled validation and these strict digital guardrails, you aren't just improving compliance. You are accelerating the entire manufacturing pipeline.
What do the numbers look like on that?
Well, the data shows that these platforms can cut document generation time by up to 80%.
80%?
Yes. And those review cycles that used to take weeks of emailing attachments back and forth or walking binders across a campus, they shrink down to mere hours.
Just hours instead of weeks. Because nobody has to manually proofread to see if a date format is correct. The system just handles the formatting.
It completely changes the dynamic of the workplace.
No paper, no scanning, no chasing people down the hallway.
None of it.
But this software upgrade also aligns with a much larger regulatory shift in the industry, doesn't it?
It really does. It's perfectly timed.
The research focuses heavily on this move towards something called CSA, or Computer Software Assurance.
Right. CSA is a huge buzzword right now.
I'm looking at this shift, and it sounds to me like global regulators are basically telling pharma companies to stop treating every single software glitch like a life or death crisis and to start using some common sense. Is that an oversimplification?
Honestly, no, it's actually a very sharp way to summarize it. Global regulators, the FDA in the US, the EMA in Europe, the MHRA in the UK, they're all pushing for this CSA model.
Okay, so what was it like before CSA?
Well, historically, validation was incredibly document-centric. Companies would generate mountains of paper just to prove to an auditor that they did the work.
The old binder method.
Exactly. They would treat every single software system with the exact same level of exhaustive paranoid testing, regardless of its actual impact on patient safety.
Wait, so they were basically weighing the paperwork to see if the system was safe?
Essentially, yes. Under the old system, a company might spend 100 hours thoroughly testing the font size and color settings on a label printing software.
Just for a label.
Just for a label. And then they would spend that exact same 100 hours testing the automated software that measures the highly potent active chemical ingredient going into a pill.
That makes zero sense.
It was a massive misallocation of resources. With CSA, regulators are explicitly asking for smarter, risk-based validation instead of just blind piles of documentation.
Okay, so how does that actually work in reality? How does a digital platform enable that?
Well, CSA allows companies to say, okay, the label font software is low risk to the patient. Let's do a basic test for an hour. But the chemical mixer is extremely high risk. Let's focus our intense 100-hour testing protocols there.
Right, allocating time where it actually matters. Yeah.
Exactly. And a digital system automatically links those identified risks directly to specific test scripts. It makes it incredibly easy to demonstrate to an auditor exactly which features are high risk, which are low risk, and precisely how the high-risk ones were rigorously tested.
That is so smart.
It shifts the quality assurance teams away from being administrative detectives hunting for missing signatures and allows them to be what they were hired to be, strategic reviewers of actual product risk.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
You are freeing up human intelligence to focus on actual science and patient safety instead of clerical auditing.
Precisely.
But locking down a single document or a single workflow is really just one piece of the puzzle. To truly scale these operations, companies have to break down the silos across their entire manufacturing ecosystem.
Because if your systems don't talk to each other, you just create new hidden data factories.
Right. And those silos are deeply entrenched in this industry. Right now, analysts and QA professionals are wasting over 40% of their time dealing with data issues that are caused purely by disconnected systems.
40%, it's staggering.
You have your quality management system over here, your lab systems over there, your enterprise resource planning, your equipment maintenance records.
And none of them speak the same language.
Exactly. If they don't natively talk to each other, a human being has to sit there and manually copy data from one screen to another, which is slow and, as we discussed, highly prone to human error.
But the industry is finally waking up to this.
They are. The research notes they are aggressively moving away from those old, isolated on-premise servers. Cloud and SaaS platforms now make up more than 70% of validation software revenue.
That is a massive, definitive shift toward connectivity.
It really is.
Because cloud systems allow for real-time collaboration across the globe. A QA manager in Switzerland can instantly review a test protocol being executed in New Jersey without needing a clunky VPN or waiting for files to sync over a slow network.
That is huge for global companies.
And furthermore, modern platforms are unifying the software side of validation CSV with the equipment side of validation CQV.
Which is crucial now, because the line between hardware and software is basically gone. Right?
Exactly.
The research mentions complex modern devices like smart pumps on the manufacturing line.
Yeah, think about a modern smart pump regulating fluid in a bioreactor. You can't separate the physical mechanical pump from the software algorithms controlling its flow rate anymore.
They are one entity.
Exactly. Modern digital platforms unify that life cycle, so you are validating the hardware and the software in one continuous, interconnected record.
And then there's the power of digital change control, which sounds like an absolute lifesaver for these engineers.
Oh, it really is.
The source uses this great practical example. Let's say a single temperature sensor needs to be updated on the manufacturing line.
Okay, pretty common scenario.
In an old manual system, figuring out how that one tiny change impacts everything else is basically guesswork. You are checking old spreadsheets, divvying through binders, just, hoping you didn't miss a related protocol.
Total nightmare.
Right. But with a digital system, you update that one sensor, and the system instantly maps the connections. It flags the exact 3 system requirements and the exact 5 test scripts that must now be updated.
Nothing falls through the cracks.
Nothing. So what does this all mean for the bottom line? Does fixing these silos and installing these digital guardrails actually pay off, or is it just a really expensive IT project that looks nice on a dashboard?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the financial argument is just as compelling as the compliance argument.
Okay, give us the numbers.
The data shows that digitizing validation can save around 65% of total validation costs.
65%. That is huge.
It's massive.
Let's put some numbers to that. If a company is spending $10 million a year just on the bureaucracy of proving their machines work, this software gives them $6.5 million of that back.
Exactly. That is money they can spend on actual drug research.
And it achieves that massive saving, not just by eliminating the cost of paper, physical storage, and courier fees, right?
Right. Those are just surface savings.
It saves that money by preventing the domino effect of rework.
Yes. Rework is the real budget killer. Think about this scenario. An engineer spends 3 full days executing a highly complex test protocol on a new manufacturing line.
Okay, 3 days of solid work.
But they accidentally used version 1 of the protocol document when version 2 had actually been approved by the QA team that morning.
Oh no. So the engineer just wasted 3 days of work. What happens next?
Well, in a paper-based or shared drive system, that test is entirely invalid. They have to scrap the work, throw out all the results, and start over from scratch.
Because the system didn't warn them or stop them.
Exactly. A digital platform fundamentally changes that. It locks the outdated version. The engineer physically cannot open or run the test on version 1.
The bumpers are up.
The bumpers are up. The software forces them to use the approved version 2 that prevents the 3-day delay. It prevents the wasted labor costs. And most importantly, it gets the product to market faster.
That makes total sense.
That is where you see that 65% cost savings realized. You don't let the expensive mistake happen in the first place.
It is brilliant because it tackles the root cause of the inefficiency. And this brings us right back to you, listening to this deep dive.
Yeah, why does this matter to you?
Exactly. Even if you don't work anywhere near the pharmaceutical industry, what we are talking about here is the ultimate blueprint for scaling operations.
Absolutely.
Every single business struggles with hidden data factories. Every business has knowledge workers wasting time searching for the right version of a file or manually moving data between disconnected software.
We've all been there.
We really have. Understanding how an industry with the absolute highest stakes imaginable human life and strict FDA oversight eliminates its silos and automates its most rigorous compliance tasks provides a roadmap for how any business can scale its output without scaling its internal chaos.
And as we watch these digital guardrails become increasingly sophisticated, it leaves us with a truly fascinating question to ponder for the future.
Oh, I like the sound of this. Lay it on us.
We are already seeing platforms use AI to cut document generation times by 80% and automatically link complex risks to specific tests to entirely prevent human error.
Right.
If these systems can already do all of that, mapping connections and enforcing conditional logic flawlessly, without any flaws,
Yeah.
how long until this entire validation process becomes completely autonomous?
Why?
Are we rapidly approaching a reality where AI essentially validates the safety and efficacy of our manufacturing lines in real time, instantly analyzing deviations and proving compliance without ever needing a human reviewer to sign off at all?
That is an incredible thought to leave on. We might finally be ready to trade in that glove box full of crumpled, hand-drawn maps and let the spaceship fly itself.
It certainly looks that way.
Until next time, keep digging deeper.